Sharks have been swimming in the ocean for more than 400 million years. They survived multiple mass extinctions. But today, many of the species are declining because of something far more recent: us, humans. Yet most of what people believe about sharks is completely wrong. Let's fix that today. This is Ocean Decoded, where we break down what's really happening in the ocean and why it matters. So I'm going to go through 10 myths that I see each and every day. I see it all the time. It just comes up over and over again that I want to go through so that you fully understand that these are myths and these are not true. We need to debunk these myths. So this is like that resource. You can share it with friends who are afraid of sharks. I see people who don't want to go in the water because they're worried about sharks. Totally understand. They can be very scary, especially the way they've been portrayed with Jaws and everything like that. But I want you to know this stuff so you can send it to friends so that maybe they'll want to go in the ocean more, or maybe they'll just have a better understanding and more of a positive outlook on sharks as well as the ocean. So maybe one day they'll go more closer to the ocean. Let's get into it. So myth number 1, sharks are mindless killing machines. Movies and media like Jaws and other movies, Sharknado, maybe not so much, but there are a lot of movies that are out there like Deep Blue Sea that really portray sharks as these aggressive predators constantly searching for humans. But the reality is very different. Sharks are highly evolved predators, but they are not indiscriminate hunters. Most species are selective feeders. They focus on fish, squid, seals, or other marine animals. Humans are not their prey. In fact, you probably heard this a lot of times, we're not fat enough for them. Well, if you think about what fish offer, like tuna, sometimes other sharks, or you get these big groupers or things like that, or squid, or even seals, they offer a lot of fat. It's high energy. Sharks need a lot of energy to keep swimming. They're big predators. Most of them are. And so the ones that you're thinking are, the sharks want to make sure that they have the energy enough to last for the next meal. They don't know when their next meal is coming from. So they have to make sure that it's the best meal that has the best and high and most energy. So here's an interesting fact. There are more than 500 species of sharks. If you start to count rays, skates, and chimeras, there's probably more than 1,200 species of elasmobranchs. But when we talk about sharks that we think, the body type that we think, there are over more than 500 species. The vast majority are small and harmless to humans. Worldwide, there are typically fewer than 10 fatal shark attacks per year. Meanwhile, humans kill anywhere between 80 to 100 million sharks every single year. Sharks are not hunting for us. If anything, the numbers show the opposite. Myth number 2, sharks have to continue swimming or they die. This one is a more common of the myths. Many people think sharks must constantly swim to breathe. They have to bring that water over their gills so that they can breathe, and the way that they move that water is by swimming. But this only applies to some species. There are 2 main breathing strategies in sharks. There's ram ventilation, which allows waters to flow over the gills while swimming, and then there's buccal pumping. Sharks actively move water through their gills while resting. Species like nurse sharks, wobbegongs, and angel sharks can rest on the seafloor and still breathe. Some sharks have to swim constantly to breathe, but many sharks can just swim and rest. Myth number 3. You've probably heard this before. A shark can smell 1 drop of blood from miles away. The claim is a little exaggerated. Sharks have an excellent sense of smell, but it's not supernatural. Research shows sharks can detect chemicals at concentrations of 1 part per 10 billion, which is impressive, but currents, dilution, and water movement limit how far those scents can travel. And smell is only 1 part of how sharks find food. They rely on vision, on hearing, and electrical sensing. Sharks are not just blood-seeking missiles. They are sensory specialists using multiple systems. Myth number 4, sharks are just big fish. Technically, sharks are fish, but they are very different from the fish that most people imagine. Sharks belong to a group called cartilaginous fish, which includes skates and rays. Their skeletons are made of cartilage, not bone. This makes them lighter and more flexible in water. Some of the other differences from what you think of fish is they have replaceable teeth, unique sensory organs, extremely efficient swimming bodies. Sharks represent a completely different evolutionary lineage from bony fish. Sharks are not primitive fish. They are highly specialized predators with a very different biology. Myth number 5, sharks don't matter to ecosystems. Sharks often sit at the top of marine food webs. They call them apex predators. This makes them important regulators of ecosystem balance. When sharks decline, the effects ripple down the entire ecosystem. This is called a trophic cascade. Examples that have been documented where sharks' decline led to increases in mid-level predators, declines in shellfish populations, and changes in seagrass ecosystems. Predators help maintain ecosystem stability. Without them, food webs can become unbalanced. Removing sharks can reshape entire ecosystems. All sharks are huge. The image most people have about sharks is something like a great white shark, tiger sharks, maybe even bull sharks. But many of the sharks are actually small. Some of the examples are dwarf lantern sharks, about the size of a human hand, bamboo sharks, under 1 meter, cat sharks, which are common small reef predators. Most of the shark species are far smaller than the giants that appear in documentaries. The giant predators get the attention, but most of the sharks are small and rarely seen. In fact, there's a friend of mine, I'm not sure if you've heard of him, Dr. David Ebert, he's known as @Lost Shark Guys. He discovered and described over 50 species of shark. Most of them have been small deep sea sharks. A lot of them have been chimeras, skates, all these different types. They're so diverse in their size, in their makeup, in what they look like, and where they live. It's just a fascinating category of elasmobranchs. It's a fascinating category of fish. Myth number 7, sharks are rapid reproducing fish. Many people assume that sharks reproduce quickly like other fish, but the opposite is true. Sharks tend to have slow growth, late maturity, and few offspring. Some species take up to 10 to 20 years to reach reproductive age. Some examples are great white sharks mature around 15 years. Greenland sharks, which are probably the oldest living sharks that we've seen, or that lived the longest, Greenland sharks may mature after more than 100 years. Low reproductive rates make sharks extremely vulnerable to fishing pressure. So when sharks decline, populations recover very slowly. Myth number 8, shark populations are stable. Research over the past decades tells a very different story. A major study published in the Journal of Nature in 2021 found that the oceanic shark populations declined by roughly 70% since 1970. The primary driver? Industrial fishing, especially longline and fin fisheries. Many sharks are now listed as threatened or endangered. The biggest threat to sharks is not fear, it is fishing pressure. Myth number 9, shark finning is the only threat. Shark finning is widely known and it was very popularized, but it's not the only problem. Sharks are also caught through targeted fisheries, bycatch and tuna fisheries, illegal fishing, and habitat loss. Finning is one visible symbol of a much larger issue. The broader challenge is global fishing pressure of all shark species. Finning is a big problem, there's no doubt about that, but the real issue is large-scale fishing mortality. Myth number 10, sharks are too dangerous to protect. Public fear often influences conservation policy, but protecting sharks is not about protecting a dangerous animal. It is about protecting the ecosystem they regulate. Sharks support coral reef stability, healthy fish populations, and balanced marine food webs. In many places, shark tourism is also economically valuable. Healthy shark populations can generate millions in tourism revenue every year. Protecting sharks is really about protecting the ocean systems we depend on. These 10 myths are the ones that I see all the time. They're very, very common in how people see sharks, how people discuss sharks, and how people fear sharks. And I don't blame them. It's not easy to look at a great white shark or look at a tiger shark and look at how they've been depicted over the years and how it's been like one of those things where you're just like, oh my gosh, like these things look dangerous. And you don't really have a lot of control when you're swimming in the ocean, or if you really get scared like I was when I was a kid, you're swimming in a pool or a lake and you think like a shark's going to come and get you. Well, that fear is very real and people have that. So I completely understand the fear of sharks. But what you also have to remember is that sharks, as we've mentioned in this episode, they help regulate the ecosystems. And when you have such an important species that is often feared and people are trying to catch them, to eat them, or to fish for them just to get them out of the system because another shark bit a surfer, these are bad conservation policies when they go unchecked and unmanaged. It's a complex issue. It's not an easy issue to protect sharks. With artisanal fishing, you want local fishing populations to be able to survive, so sometimes they have to eat shark. There are other situations where people will fish sharks or sharks are caught by accident. What we really have to do is have a top-down, bottom-up kind of management system where we like sharks. We take away the fear from sharks and we start protecting sharks on a global level. Hopefully things like the High Seas Treaty in the future will help these species, but it's still too early to tell. We need conservation action now because understanding sharks actually matters. Sharks are often misunderstood, and misunderstanding leads to that fear. Fear leads to poor decisions about conservation. But the science is increasingly clear. Healthy oceans need predators. Just because we're afraid of them doesn't mean they shouldn't be there. And sharks have played a key role for hundreds of millions of years. The real story about sharks is not danger, it is their importance to the ocean. If you want to better understand how the ocean really works, subscribe to this channel, Ocean Decoded. In the next episode, we're going to break down why protection of sharks is the most important steps in rebuilding marine ecosystems. I want to thank you for joining us here on today's episode. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them down in the comments. And I just want to thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. If you know someone who likes sharks, know someone who wants to know more about the ocean, please feel free to share this channel. As we grow, we build this community, we get more people understanding what's below that surface, and we get to decode the ocean and live for a better ocean. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Ocean Decoded. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.